Happy Camper Radio with Skip Huber.
Hello, everybody. It's time for this again for the Happy Camper Radio Show, the only place to be when you're ready to talk camping. Camping is what we're about. Camping is all we talk about. Episode 199, and this week we are on location in Mount Airey, North Carolina, at the Beechnut Family Campground, and we are having a wonderful time. 3 days of camping. It's been wonderful, except for the evening hours. We got washed out both nights. I think tonight's going to be a little bit more promising. I got my brother Rick from Pittsburgh, my cousin Greg from Ohio, and we're promising you a really good show. So I want you to hang around. I know you're going to enjoy it. Episode 199 of Happy Camper Radio.
Happy Camper Radio.
And, of course, the Happy Camper Radio Show can be heard all around the world by great listeners just like yourself. You can find us in the iTunes Store and Podbean, MyRoguide, Stitcher, the BlackBerry Podcast Directory, iHeartRadio, Google Play Music, and now on Spotify. Tell all your friends to tune in to Happy Camper Radio today. You can get in touch with us at the show by calling 404-537-2267. That's 404-537-CAMP. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker. Add us to Circles on Google+, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to www.happycamperradio.com. That's where you'll find all of our social media icons right there on the homepage. You click on any one of them, you'll connect up with us. And joining us here outside on the picnic table is my cousin Greg and my brother Rick. Guys, how you doing?
Doing good, Skip. Good being back on the show with you.
Oh, yeah, Greg.
Yeah, nice to be back again.
Oh, Greg, yeah, it's great having you here, too. Now, this is the first opportunity you've had to actually be on the show outside of a long-distance phone call in episode 100.
Right,
and
yes.
that's been, that was quite a long time ago, wasn't it?
Couple years probably, right?
I think it was.
It was the 100th episode.
The 100th episode,
Yeah.
right, yeah. But, you know, we came down here for one big purpose, and not just to actually enjoy the camping environment. And I got to say, we thought the forecast was looking good a couple days ago, didn't we?
According to the forecast, it was supposed to be nice, clear, sunny, no problems.
Yes, and it rained on us the first night. We let that go. And then it looked good yesterday.
Yep.
And right after dinner. We got to say, at least we had the opportunity to have dinner before we checked in and got out of the rain. And Greg, you know, you didn't make it to the tent too quickly, did you, on both nights?
Neither nights. I was stuck under the canopy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And last night, I don't know, when the wind came through here, it was terrible.
It actually lifted up the canopy a couple times.
I was a little bit concerned because where we're camping at, we're down in a valley. And I think that wind gust came right on down here and just started wreaking havoc, and I was a little bit concerned, but the rain moved out here pretty quickly. It's just like the day before, we had to dry out. And right now the sun is out. It's, I want to say, right around 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time here in the United States. And, you know, we're going to be enjoying ourselves for at least the next few hours before we have to check in, and it's going to be checking out tomorrow. So, yes, it's going to be a great couple days of camping, a few great memories, and I was really happy to have the opportunity to bring the podcast gear out here. And this noise you're hearing in the background, folks, it is the wind blowing. And it's a nice cool breeze. I'm not going to knock that at all. But not only are we podcasting here, we are shooting a video of episode 199. And if you're having to have the opportunity to check it out on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and post it there. It's a great opportunity for you to see exactly what we do behind the scenes when we're not in the studio. I want to say hello to Daniel. I know Daniel was really looking forward to being on the show, but because of some Bluetooth technicalities, we weren't able to connect up with him. But all in all, he's going to be excited about being in episode 200 because several weeks ago, I promised him that I was going to have food in the studio. And you know what Daniel's like when it comes to food. He knows there's going to be a free food. He's going to be a smorgasbord. He is going to be over there probably waiting for the groceries to be delivered. But he's back home. I wish he was out here with us. He's going to make it on one of these trips one of these days soon. So, Rick, you know, we're here at the Beechnut Family Campground, and we made reservations, maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, didn't we?
Yeah, but this trip was actually planned long before that as well.
Right. We were talking about this for the longest time, and we came here for one purpose, and that was what?
To tour Andy Griffith's homestead and see the basis of his show, Andy Griffith Show, otherwise known as Mayberry.
Yes, and I have been posting some pictures on Facebook. If you haven't already taken an opportunity to check them out, happycamperradio.facebook.com, and you'll be able to see a lot of the great photographs that we took. Our very first day we got here, we just kind of checked in and really didn't do too much of anything. We just relaxed by the fire, and even though we didn't have a fire going, but we sat around here and just really, reminisced on some old times that we had. And Greg, it's been ages since I've seen you.
Yeah,
So,
wow, it's been a while.
Yeah, it certainly has. But the second day is when we actually went out, and that was yesterday. And we're about, say maybe 10, 15 minutes away from the
town of Mount Airey.
From the town of Mount Airey, right. So the campground is not really located in Mount Airey, so to speak, but it's far enough away and it's secluded. And this particular site right here, I've got to hand it to the folks at the Beach Nut Family Campground because they really did a good job of fixing us up. We're the only ones here in the primitive section. And it kind of surprises me, being the fact, it's the summer months and everything, but maybe folks got things planned and they're out doing other things. But when we made the reservations, they said they were going to give us site number 13 and 12, I believe it is, right?
No, we're on 13 and 14.
13 and 14,
Yeah,
okay.
we're at the very end of the road here, this little cul-de-sac
You're better
area.
prepared than I do. Do you want to sit behind the console?
Runs in the family.
Yeah, but anyway, they made sure that we had these two sites. And when we got here, we understood why. Because it is so spacious, it is so roomy. And not only that, folks, if you're anyone like me and you enjoy camping, you enjoy being in the outdoors, and you enjoy being by a running stream, that's exactly where we're at. We're right next to a stream. Even though we're not hearing it very well, you heard the babbling brook. I have an audio tape, and I think you gave me one several years ago of the babbling brook.
Yeah.
And it really helps you sleep.
You just put that on at night, and it's just like the white noise. It just lulls you to sleep.
It does. And having the sound effects is one thing, but when you're out here in the wilderness and you've got the real deal.
Nature.
Oh, yeah. You just can't beat that at all. But we managed to work our way into Mount Airy, North Carolina yesterday, and we really didn't have too hard of a time finding the major attraction. And when we got there, you can't miss it, folks, because once you get into town and you happen to see those Mayberry RFD police cars sitting off to the side, you know where you're at. Okay.
That was a great tour.
Yeah, and I could spot a sheriff vehicle a mile away. So we got there, and I got to say, the hospitality in this town is fantastic.
Oh, very friendly.
Yes.
It is Mayberry.
Yeah, it really is. And we had an opportunity, the very first visit, when we stepped foot out of the vehicle and crossed the street. And one of the other things I noticed here, and they emphasized this here on the tour, there are no parking meters in Mount Airy. No. So parking is never going to be a problem. You're not going to have to worry about getting towed away unless you're parked up against a fire hydrant, and I think we all know better than that.
And what did the one gentleman said? He says, you're going to have to work hard to get yourself a ticket here.
Yeah, okay, I can live with that. Now, where else in America you're going to find that kind of an attitude? Yeah, especially when the governments are out there trying to, generate revenue, and they're going to stick it to you any way they possibly can. But here in Mount Airy, the first thing we did when we got out of there, we parked in this church parking lot, and of course, they said the church service was already over for the day, so there was never going to be a problem parking there. We crossed the street, and the very first attraction we visited was
the sheriff's station.
The sheriff's station. Yep. And you walk in there, and you think you've walked into the Andy Griffith Show.
Yep, they had the desk, they had the jail cells.
Not only that, they had the jail cells looking like they were back when you saw them on the show back in the 1960s.
Yep.
And you also had right there the radios, the ancient radios, the two-way radios that you saw on the show. I was expecting Andy and Barney to come out of the back door and say, hey, how are you?
I was waiting for Otis to come walking in and check himself into the cell.
Yeah, Otis. What a character he was. Now, of course, I've always said there is one character on the Andy Griffith Show that is my idol. I always idolize him. That's Ernest T. Bass.
Yeah.
I love Ernest T. Bass. And there's a dedication to him inside the Mayberry Courthouse. There's a little brick right there. It says, in memory of Ernest T. Bass.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had that opportunity to check that out. And I also had an opportunity to step inside one of the jail cells and pull the door shut. what an experience that was. And it's not too busy. Folks were in and out of there, and you take your time. You just browse through, and you can hang around as long as you want. And when you visit those attractions, folks, there's no charge. All right, until you decide you want to go ahead and take the squad car tour of town. Now, right next to the sheriff's station, after we came out of that, we had a display. I think it was Fred's TV service.
Yeah, Fred's.
Emmett.
Oh yeah, Emmett. Yeah, Emmett.
Barbershop.
No, Emmett wasn't the barbershop. Emmett Fix-It Shop. Now,
Right.
Emmett,
Yeah.
Emmett used to do a pretty good job of taking a hammer and slapping it a couple times,
Right.
and everything turned back on.
Floyd had the barbershop.
Floyd had the
Floyd's
barbershop.
and
Loved Floyd.
Yeah.
He was a great character.
Wally's gas station. Was that it?
Wally's gas station,
Yeah.
and that's where we got connected up with the
The
tour.
ride, right?
All right. And the guys that gave the tour are very knowledgeable. They know pretty much a lot, if not almost everything about the program.
Yeah.
Because I know you were shooting questions with him, of course, Rick, because I'm long-legged and I used to be a deputy sheriff. I decided I was going to ride the front seat. And I love the fact that he got to blow the old-fashioned siren going down the road. He just had to make sure that nobody was up in front of him there because he wasn't going to be pulling anybody over. But, yeah, that was a real treat. And just about every question that you ran by him, he had an answer for.
Yeah, he's very knowledgeable. It's amazing of all the little details of Andy Griffith's life and the people of Mount Airey that he incorporated into the show.
Right. And we come to find out, too, there is another living legend right here in Mount Airey.
Yeah.
And, of course, Andy Griffith, he's died off. Barney Fife, he's gone, and Otis, and of course, Ernest T. Bass, they're all gone, but memories live on. Mm-hmm. But also living in town, and she's up there in her ages, but she's still really taking part of the tours and everything that's going on around here. Thelma Lou.
Thelma Lou's still around.
Now, who was Thelma Lou?
That was Barney's girlfriend, wasn't she?
It was,
Yeah.
yes. That was Barney's girlfriend. And we come to find out, and maybe we planned the trip wrong. Of course, we didn't know anything about her at the time. But Thelma Lou actually shows up at the Andy Griffith Museum the third Friday of every month to sign autographs. So if you're planning a trip to Mount Airy and you want to see the Andy Griffith Memorial, everything just about around here that has to do with the Andy Griffith Show, make sure that you show up on the third Friday of every month, and you'll get an opportunity to shake hands and get an autograph from Thelma Lou. And I found that out when we actually went into Wally Service Station, because the folks in there says, yeah, hey, here's her picture right up on the wall, and if you want to come visit her. And unfortunately, we're here the first part of the month, so it's not going to work out. Greg, what was your most memorable part of the tour?
Oh, I like the car ride. The tour, the actual whole tour.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see Andy's house where he was raised.
Right.
That was nice.
And that's now a
tiny
bed
little
and
place.
breakfast, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
right.
you
can actually make reservations, and I've got the picture right there on Facebook. If you happen to come here and you want to stay at Andy Griffith's home place, you can do that. Just call and make a reservation. I'm sure you have to do that well in advance. But it's a small house, and I think that was really the highlight of the tour.
Right.
And it's one of the last things that we saw before we actually ended the tour. And the tour lasted about a good half hour.
Easy.
And this gentleman too, and I wish I got his name, but he took his time with us. He knew we were out there to see and be part of this, and and the tour itself for a carload of folks was only $40. So if you can get 5 people in a car, in a squad car, if you got some small kids, and just get everybody on in there and be as comfortable as you can be. And this would be a good time of the year also. Those old-fashioned squad cars don't have the air conditioning and the power steering like the ones we have today. Okay, but that didn't bother them at all. It's just the thrill of getting an opportunity to take a squad car tour of Mount Airy was just absolutely fantastic. And then when we got back, we just hung around Wally Service Station for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the history on that is that was actually called Wally's Service Station back when Andy was growing up here.
Right. And and that was the, I guess, the namesake building right there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the last things they told us before we took off. So it was a really great day that we had yesterday to spend with those folks, and I really wish we had more time to spend here in Mount Airy, because I would probably want to take that squad car tour again.
No, without a doubt, that was
Yeah.
definitely. And I believe the gentleman's name, it was either James or John. I can't. No, it began with a J.
I'm getting too old. You've
Yeah.
got a better memory than I do, but I do remember faces. And if I ever get up here again and get an opportunity to ride that squad car, I'm going to make sure I connect up with that gentleman. But it was a great opportunity. But let's talk about camp here for a moment. We've been eating like horses.
Oh, the
And-
diet's out the window.
And yeah, no doubt about it. And this particular camping trip is no different than any other because I bring way too much food.
Lots of food.
Oh,
Lots
we
of,
had
yeah.
we had more food. We could stay here another week.
Yes,
Not run out.
we could absolutely do that. The
and
first,
equipment too. Lots of equipment.
yeah, we don't ever skimp on equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought my trailer along. We packed everything on it, and I even decided this particular trip because we were going to be eating steaks, we were going to be eating burgers, and we had pizza tonight. We custom made our own pizza.
Cooked on the grill.
We
That was a
cooked on
first
the-
for me.
Yeah, we cooked it on the grill, and I brought my 6-burner stove with me. Yes, and we just grilled and grilled and grilled these past 3 days. It has just been a wonderful feast. I'm probably going to have leftovers for the next week or two, and I've invited you guys to take some stuff home with you too. So I'm not bringing it all home. I doubt very much I'm going to have room in my refrigerator to hold all this stuff. Yeah, but it's going to be a great opportunity to get out like we did, and I've got to say, if the weather holds up back home, and I'm not holding my breath for anything, I just don't trust any weatherman after today, after yesterday, and the day before, because we looked at the forecast. The forecast looked good, and last night I think it said 10% chance of showers, and we got hit bad.
Oh, it was a bad storm came
Yeah,
in.
fortunately everything dried out today. Probably the bottom of my tent's going to have to be dried out when I get it back home, so I'm not going to really pack it up too well tomorrow when we pack up to go home. But when I get to the house, I'll be able to set it up in the backyard, provided it's not raining back home. But I have done that on a number of occasions. Been out camping and got drenched and had to bring everything home and set it up and dry it out. It is a real pain. Unless you're folks like Daniel and Deidre, on the other hand, they've got a nice pop-up camper, and all they do is fold that up and push it in the garage when they get home. Nothing really to it, and everything is, compact, and they really don't bring a whole lot of stuff like I do. But I have always been the type of person that, if I don't bring everything, I'm going to forget something. Mm-hmm. It just works out that way.
And I don't know about you, Skip. I don't know. I have the worst luck when it comes to camping in the rain. I'm thinking back, the last trip we did in October, we went down for your daughter's wedding.
Right.
We had rain. Greg and I, just about a month ago, we did a trip up to State College, Pennsylvania. We got hit with rain there. Then we got hit rain 2 nights here. I'm 3 for 3. I'm hoping for better camping trips in the future here.
And if any of our listeners do not believe you, where can they go to see these videos?
Just check out my YouTube channel called Travel Buddies. It's traveling with my little dog Poncha. You saw her as the show started. She's off. She can't sit still for too long here. But she's a great little travel companion. I think she's been to 10 states so far, and I think I may have told you initially she came from Cozumel, Mexico when I was down there. She stole my heart, and I had to bring her home, and she's been a wonderful travel companion ever since.
I can encourage everybody to adopt a pet if at all possible. And you
Absolutely.
really went to the extreme, and my hat's off to you. You fell in love with her down there. You came home and you felt bad about leaving her. You knew she needed a home, and all it took was a phone call, and you were back on a plane down to Mexico to
Yep.
pick her up.
Yeah, and just as she said on your every show, he says every pet deserves a loving home.
There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
Yes, and as long as I'm breathing human air, and I have the opportunity to take one in and can afford to feed it, afford to take care of it, yes, that pet will get a home. So, yeah, it's so very, very important. And I see so many folks who go camping and bring their pets along with them. And I admire that. There's some folks who actually live on the road, and they have pets that they basically they're campers too. But I know that when I go camping in a lot of places, especially the public or the private campgrounds, and I have the opportunity to meet folks, even if I just meet them one time, and never get an opportunity to see them again. A lot of these folks, they're not going to put their pet in the kennel for
No way.
a week or two, or even for a weekend. They're going to bring them along. I have actually seen maybe on one or two occasions where somebody would have a cat that they brought along, and they're usually inside of a motorhome or a travel trailer because they're not out wandering around. But the fact that they're not staying home, that's very important. So,
And
if you got a pet, pets are family.
Yeah, and we travel around. People, they all come up. They want to say hello to Poncha. I'm just a guy, the other than the leash, as I always say. But it was funny watching yesterday as we're traveling around the squad car. Poncha's hanging out the windows. We're going down the street. There's people on the sidewalk taking pictures of this little black dog hanging out the window of the squad car.
I thought they were taking pictures of me. Wow, that didn't work out too well.
Nope.
They were, Poncha is a little more better attractive than I am, so yeah.
And everybody tells me, says, that dog lucked out. No, I was the lucky one. The blessings are way more in my favor from the joy that she's brought into my life.
I don't know if she's a miniature lab or exactly what she is, but she's a sweetheart. I've got a Labrador at home that I adopted from the shelter that desperately needed a home when I got her.
Yeah.
And she didn't come here on this particular trip with me, but I'm going to see her tomorrow, and I'm really missing her probably as much as she's missing me. But today we had the opportunity to go back into town, and of course, we didn't spend as much time today as we did yesterday. But we had the opportunity, and this is something else, folks. If you ever visit Mount Airy, North Carolina, you want to visit the Andy Griffith Museum. It costs you $8 for an adult, $6 for a kid to get in. It's not a very big museum, but if you want to take a look at some of the props, some of the clothing, the actual clothing that was worn by the actors on the Andy Griffith Show, you'll find them right there in the Andy Griffith Museum. And I love that bronze statue right outside.
Yeah, Andy and Opie.
Right. It's the typical first scene that you see whenever you watch the Andy Griffith Show. You see Andy and Opie walking, and they've got their fishing pole over their shoulder.
The opening credit.
That's it. And that's exactly what you see. And also hanging on the wall there inside the museum is the actual color photo with Andy Griffith standing there beside the statue. And I guess that was when they dedicated the museum to him. He was here in town for that. So, we had an opportunity to go through there. And I took my time, and I think you spent a little more time than I did in the museum. But one of the things that I did notice in there, some of the actual props that you saw inside the courthouse itself.
Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed, and I guess Andy donated this to the museum, was his gavel.
Yeah, the gavel on the block.
He has a little name tag or a nameplate right at the front of his desk. It says Sheriff, and he flips it over and it says Justice of the Peace. So whenever he decides to change hats, he becomes the Justice of the Peace, and that's when he needs that gavel. The actual gavel that you saw on the show, on the Andy Griffith Show, you will find there in the Andy Griffith Museum. And the little block that he would hammer that gavel down on, he actually autographed it.
I saw that.
Check it out. I have it on Facebook, facebook.com/Happy Camper Radio. And I've got a few more other pictures that I'm going to be actually sharing with our listeners a little later on. Some of the ones that I had an opportunity today, but didn't really get to post them online, but I'm going to make sure that I do that tonight before I lay my head back down. Another thing that I noticed inside the museum today that caught my attention, one of Andy's uniform shirts behind plexiglass is in there. Yeah.
Got pictures of that?
This
They
was
had a little bit of everything in there. They had TV scripts, Andy Griffith Show scripts.
Right.
A little bit of everything.
Barney's salt and pepper suit.
Yes.
Yeah, two of
And
them.
of course, we're talking about Otis.
Yeah.
And if you ever see Otis with that hat that has a little tear in the front of it, that hat is in there, and his suit is in there. And yes, Otis, the town drunk who always, when he needed a place to sleep, he went right to the sheriff's office and unlocked the jail cell and let himself in. I'm sure there's some crazy criminals out there that probably do that today. So and another thing that I didn't notice at first, but when I left, I passed up the doors to the courthouse. They looked so authentic, but they're not the actual doors. However, the nameplates that are on the door
The sheriff
that
and
say
Justice.
Sheriff and Justice of the Peace, those actual plates were the ones that you saw in the show.
Yes.
And of course, they're behind plexiglass too, because I'm sure everybody would just love to put their hand on them.
Right.
But you stand there and you look at those things and saying, wow, all the episodes of the Andy Griffith Show that I had an opportunity to look at, there it is. And I can't wait to go home and start watching some of the reruns.
If they do not make shows like that anymore.
It's a shame,
No,
isn't it?
That is.
There are shows that are actually on today, and you ever notice that they don't last?
No.
The producers or whoever the authors are of some of these shows, they come up with some of the craziest and goofiest things, and they're really not family-oriented programs today like they were back in the days when they had Andy Griffith. There's a lot of cussing and swearing. I don't consider that family-oriented programming.
Don't even watch them.
No. And I don't even bother. Some people may argue with me. Some people may want to say, well, I'm a lot younger than you are. That's okay. To each his own. But there's never going to be a program again like Andy Griffith's. And I've really had the opportunity to come into town. And you drove down here from Pittsburgh. And Greg, you came from Ohio. And this is about the halfway point for us. So for me, I got down here in about 6 hours. Of course, you left a day ahead of time, didn't you?
Yeah, but we took our time. We stopped over and did some boondocking along the way. And that way we have a nice casual drive, especially with Poncha in the car. I did a lot of stops so she can get out and stretch her legs.
And we were very hungry when we got here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why the first night we just kind of hung out and relaxed and ate.
Yeah. And, if the temperatures, are like they are right now for the rest of the night, I think our final day here, is going to be a wonderful one. We'll probably get a good night's sleep before you have to head north and I have to head south. And when I get this show back into the studio, I'll be able to, punch up the all the little effects and everything that I put in there just to make it sound like it's like we're doing it in the studio, but there's nothing like doing a podcast out here in the wilderness. And I'm having a great time. I know you are too. We're at the Beach Nut Family Campground. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show.
Happy Camper Radio. Happy Camper Radio.
And of course, we're going to take our hats off to the folks at the Beach Nut Family Campground in Mount Airey, North Carolina. It is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. The Beach Nut Family Campground is conveniently located off I-77 and is right here in North Carolina. It's right up near the Tennessee border? No, it's the West Virginia.
Virginia border.
Okay, yeah. So, if you need to find out where it's at on the map, you won't have any problem doing that. But it's a great family campground. They've got a swimming pool here. They've got, full hookup sites. We came back here in the primitive section. We've got this whole area all to ourselves. They got water and electric that's actually included with the sites. And when you get here, just the hospitality, you just tell it's just a warm family environment, and it's a campground that you would really enjoy staying at. So, if you're bringing your RV, if you're bringing your motorhome, if you're bringing your tent, they have ways to accommodate you. And it's not too far away from just about anything. There's a gas station right here at the top of the hill, and if you're like us, and you bring a lot of stuff with you, and you bring a lot of coolers, and you bring a lot of this and that, you're going to need ice. Yes, and we've been going up there every day, and it's just a few feet away from us, and that store is open 24/7, so you don't really have to go too far.
Right.
In fact, after the show, I need to run up there myself because I got to pick up a couple things for the trip home tomorrow. So, if you're looking for a great campground to be at, and you can find them online. They're the Beach Nut Family Campground. It's one of the great campgrounds here in Mount Airy, North Carolina. I don't think I would want to stay anywhere else.
It is Mayberry.
Yes, and you get here, first impressions mean everything. And if you're a camper like I am, and you get out there and you find a site that you like, you're going to remember that. You're going to remember that campground. You're going to remember the site you stayed at. You're going to remember the folks you talked to. And it's just a wonderful camping environment. I don't think I would want to stay anywhere else in North Carolina. So if you're visiting Mount Airy and you want to go camping, whether you're bringing your tent, your RV, your motorhome, or however you're planning on camping, consider the Beach Nut Family Campground. It is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show.
Skip and Daniel on happycamperradio.com.
Yeah, even though he's not here with us, I wish he was. And remember, folks, if you have a campground that you would like for us to feature on the program, get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. Be sure to include a link to the campground website. And that's going to wrap up today's episode of the Happy Camper Radio Show. We got to break the gear down. We got to get a good night's sleep. You guys are heading north. I'm heading south.
Long
And we're going to
drive.
be back in the studio next week for episode 200. Do not miss it. Remember, friends, every pet deserves a loving home. I want you to do exactly like I did. Visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. You can find us online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. Rick's a happy camper,
I'm
so
happy.
is Greg.
I am,
Daniel
yep.
is back home. And no doubt about it, my friends, you hang around with us long enough, we'll make a happy camper out of you. Talk to you again real soon. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.